I'm very glad to have Daniel Moreira now with us, the conductor and the leader of the project here in Hanover. He did all the offers to make this project successful here in Hanover. So thank you very much. Actually, it's all the words cannot explain how much I can appreciate how much I appreciate your efforts here.
Thank you very much, Rami. It's a pleasure for me and for us, for all the musicians, that the project, even though there are many difficulties, the pandemic and everything, that we're able to then make music, record. And for me, it was a big discovery. This repertoire was really interesting and challenging at the same time, so not easy. But I'm really happy that it's happening. We still have
and we were preparing ourselves to be in Tunisia, I think.
We were prepared. We were ready to go.
We packed everything.
I actually had my bags packed. I was ready to leave, and then it was postponed. But now it's happening. Where I live and here in Hanover.
Yeah, actually. So I'll say a short biography about you. Perhaps you can also help me if I'll say something less, because I'm sure I'll say something less. What you did in your life, it can't be written in just 3 papers.
That's true.
So I'll say shortly that Daniel came from Brazil. He's a composer and conductor for contemporary music. And I think you played also percussions. I remember.
No, I didn't play. My main instrument is the electric guitar. I started with piano and then changed, but then I stayed in electric guitar, which is my passion. It's my main instrument. Then I tried clarinet, but I wouldn't say I'm a clarinet player.
But would you say about yourself that you are a physician?
Not a physician. I studied physics before I changed to music. So I did 3 years of physics, and then the passion for music was much bigger and took much more time. I wasn't able to be successful in the tests in physics because I was too much busy with music and so.
Anyway, it has to do also with resonance and physics. Also.
Yeah, and also a project like this where there's one piece specifically that deals with overtone series and also with the proportions of the frequencies. So it was
with Mark Sabat, I think you're talking about.
I'm talking about Mark Sabat's piece.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. So you did your first study in Germany after changing from physics, or am I wrong in this case? Because you wrote after that you studied in USA, and then you went back to Brazil to University Federal do Grande do Sul.
Very good. Yeah, Rami. Portuguese
thank you.
is good.
I'm trying to learn.
Yes, so that's true. I started my academic life in Brazil, studying physics, as I said, and then I changed in the same university, Universidade Federal do Rio Grande do Sul, as you said, in Brazil, and then I did a 1 exchange year at the University of Texas at Austin in the United States.
So Germany was not your second?
Well, in the United States and Brazil, it was during my bachelor years. So then I came to Germany to do my master's in Hamburg. That's where we actually met for the first time.
In 2010, I think.
It's 2010. God.
10 years ago. So we are a little bit old now. It was die Hochschule für Musik und Theater Hamburg.
Exactly.
Yeah. Und Stuttgart auch.
I did my master's in Hamburg, and then I went to Stuttgart to do a Konzertexamen, which is they call here.
Okay.
It's after the master's. It's still part of this old German system that was diploma beforehand, and then they had for music students the Konzertexamen, which will be the last.
You see, after 10 years now, I have your history between my hands. I mean,
that's everything.
Okay, great.
You're allowed to know. The rest I keep to myself.
And you studied with Marco
Struppa in Stuttgart,
and Manfred Stanke. He's a wonderful professor, actually.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
I studied also with him. I attended his classes, and he's working with microtones, I think.
He was very much interested in working with microtones, new tuning systems, and not just that. He was very influential in my compositions too, and trying to find your own voice in composition, which he was also a student of Ligeti, which Ligeti was also almost in the end of his career also working with microtonal music. So there is this whole legacy of microtonal music in Hamburg.
Yeah, and there were special methods that time with.
No, there wasn't. I mean, from what I remember studying with him, it was very much about working with pure intervals or intervals that you can find in the overtone series in just intonation, for example.
Yeah.
Which, in a way, you can find it a little bit in Mark Sabat's piece, which is this concept of dividing the 3/5 that you have in the overtone series and finding the intervals that are there. Yeah. And with that, building a small system, divisions of this fifth.
Bridges between accords. I mean, the which is the pure third, and to switch from an let's call it an cleaned accord to another one.
Yeah. In the case of Mark Sabat, it's all about this pure intonation.
Exactly.
And the intervals that we find there, they are always in the overtone series. So in the overtone series, you find 3/3. Let's say you have the overtone series of C. You have between C and G.
Exactly.
Then you have G and D. And then E and B, or H in German. So in all these 3/5, they have divisions inside.
Exactly, we are not talking about pure tones. When we say B, that doesn't mean B, which we can find it on the clavier, on the piano. Yeah. We are talking about B, perhaps a little bit less or more.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Just to make it, because people, when we say B, they understand that it's fixed.
Yeah. No, it's always approximation.
Exactly.
And that is the whole challenge that we found.
Exactly, to play these tones between, for example, like B and H. I mean, in German, if I'll talk about tones. Yeah, and then actually did you go back to USA to study conducting? And
no, it was during my year there that was my first real experiences conducting an ensemble
and here you made your own ensemble Volumina Consorta.
Yeah, that was during my studies in Hamburg. We were all music students from the university, and also composers, so we wanted to have our piece performed. So we had to find a way to make it happen. So we were. I started. Actually, my whole conducting career started by the need of conducting to conduct my own pieces and to make it possible. So just out of necessity.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so you are like serving yourself by yourself.
Well, yeah, that's a very egoistic way of point, but I think it's true. Yeah.
And nowadays you are a docent. Let's say a teacher here at the university for composition and theories at the University of Music, Drama and Media in Hanover.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about the pieces now.
Yes,
how do you find it? Was it which part was nice for you? Which part was awful? Was it boring? Was it very interesting? How do you find it?
Well, boring, it was never boring because it was always a lot of work. And especially because you can try to put all all these pieces into you can try to generalize the pieces. Okay, they use microtonality or the Arab influences and so on. But for me, what was the most impressive thing is how different they are. And each composer has really a completely different voice, even though they're using microtonality, even though it's contemporary music. The biggest challenge was actually to find our own way into each piece and try to give its own, to find its own color in a way. So for me, all 6 pieces, they bring a completely different aspect of microtonality and also of dramaturgy.
Yeah. So can we go briefly through the pieces? For example, Amr Uqba wrote something. So how do you compare it with other pieces, for example?
Well, Uqba's piece, it's like it's like slowly opening a gift that you don't know what's inside. So the pieces, it takes a long time for the piece to develop. In the beginning, you have these very long tones, and then there's a repetition, some noise sounds from the strings, and then it comes back, You never know exactly where it's going. You're like discovering, opening the box, and then suddenly, out of nowhere, then comes this middle part, which is very energetic, and which is really exciting for us. So in the beginning, it was really challenging to keep the drama and the tension until we can open this box and
very nice.
And really find out what was the gift.
Yeah, okay. And I think about Mark Sabat, we spoke about his piece.
Yeah, but just one thing about Mark Sabat's piece, it's not about just tuning, and we can talk about the overtone series and how he found these intervals of these fifths and so on. But the way he presents that, it's very different. It's almost extremely didactic in the sense that he wants the listener to really get used to this sound. Yeah. So he limits himself to only 8 pitches. So you have these 8 notes that are repeated and almost always in the same sequence. So you're really listening 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 20, 30 times for the same melodies and the same intervals until it becomes almost you come into a meditative state. I mean, and you get really used. So it's a very interesting way to present something that it's, at least for us, unusual, which is this microtonal system. So it's not just about tuning, but the way he presents it's very interesting.
It would take you to the piece, so you don't need to bring the piece to your mind, but it would take you. I mean, you feel like it comes in your mind, brain, and it would give you this kind of feeling that it's part of your body. This is the feeling that I could have from his piece. I mean.
And you have to feel that to play the piece.
Yeah.
You cannot be thinking too much. Oh, am I right? Am I wrong? You have, after a while, to really hear and feel, especially for the string instruments, to feel on their fingers where the notes are and how this whole ritual evolves.
As a conductor, but as a listener, I felt like really the piece takes me to different world. It's like taking me, not I am listening to it. Like I am taking it in my mind. And about Samir
Tamimi, which was this piece was also technically for us really challenging, but it's a highly expressive piece. So it's almost like in this piece we're going to the softest part to the most aggressive parts, I think, in the concert. He's working with extremes of range of the instruments, very high, very low, extremes of loudness and softness. And the piece, it has also a very, I wouldn't say as didactic as Mark Sabat's piece, but it's a piece where the form is really clear and the repetitions and the evolutions of every part of the piece is clear stated, so that we can really follow it.
Did he use any traditional elements? I think no.
Well, I don't. Well, if you're talking just about microtones or scales, yes, there are microtones everywhere in the piece, especially not just in this piece, but something that I found common in almost all the other pieces when dealing with microtonality is the preference to work melodically with microtonality and not always harmonic. I always have the feeling that the line is more important than the, let's say, the vertical aspect. Of course, the harmony comes from when the lines meet and so on, but in his writing is more about lines, how they go up, down, and how the microtonal lines they develop, than working in a microtonal harmonic context.
Okay, in this case, effects would play a role, or
there are a lot of effects, but they seem to me to be in this piece justified because they're really expressive gestures. And
so it's like eating a meal of spices with some rice.
I would have another picture. I don't have this very concrete image when I'm conducting.
I like his pieces. I mean, Samir, to me, for me, he's a wonderful composer. So I feel really when I listen to him like I'm having the spices and some rice, because I feel like it's strong taste.
It's taste. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, that's an image.
And Stefan
Pollitt, yeah. This piece, actually, we took an earlier piece from him, which doesn't involve microtones, but it's also a piece, at least for me, the piece for me could be called actually waves, because he treats the whole ensemble as actually it's growing and disappearing lines or groups of musicians. So it's really important for us to get, of course, the notes, and then, but most important to treat the whole ensemble as one group that is playing together, almost as one instrument. Sometimes. And the piece, it's really interesting. I was talking with the musicians. You have the feeling from the beginning of the piece until the end. The piece just gets better. It's almost like a straight line. It's always evolving, and it's a beautiful piece. Very, very beautiful piece.
So, did you use special technique in this case for these? You showed me, or I saw you are using special device or devices. I don't know.
Yeah, especially for Mark Sabat's piece, which is not only dealing with quarter tones, but he has very specific indications of sense. Yeah. So it's a very, very specific intonation. He was very generous to give us first audio files of of what each instrument plays. But more than that, then I took and I programmed a MIDI keyboard to play the piece, so that in the rehearsals I could play with the musicians. I was playing the keyboard, and we could check in real time then the tuning. Yeah, that's correct. It was the only way. And then I had even my keyboard over there. I just had to paste on top of each key what actually the real note was.
Exactly. But other pieces you didn't need to.
In the beginning, the pieces that are involving quarter tones, we used a little bit in your piece, and also in the piece from Chahin.
Okay, we didn't talk.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Perhaps, yeah.
Also, for the melodic lines, to get the quarter tones in the beginning. Yeah, it was really important.
Yeah, exactly. And how do you feel the musician, could they accept this quarter tone, or they couldn't understand it very well at the beginning, or at the end it's still not clear? Or
it's really challenging, and it becomes evident when they have to play, for example, unison lines or fifths or intervals that you can notice immediately if you're not in tune.
Yeah.
But they are so used to playing together that they can really react to each other really quickly, and as soon as someone is playing a pitch, which is a quarter tone, and there is a unison, they can react and just slip into the right pitch at the same time. So it took us a while, but then I think it's working fine.
Yeah. So should we talk more about the piece of Chahin, or?
Chahin, yes. I mean, his string quartet. From the pieces I have, it has, compared to the other, more like a dance-like quality to it. Sometimes it's very expressive, it's very melodic. There are some moments that has this dance-like quality.
Yeah.
And I think, it's the piece I think with the most changes of tempo and dynamics and stops. Yeah. So it's for us, it was challenging in the beginning to coordinate everything. But it's also a beautiful piece.
So in this case, but for example, now you are teaching theories. Do you teach something about microtones? Or?
In my course I teach also acoustics, which deals, of course, with the basics of physics applied to music, and then we deal with overtone series and different tunings, and we talk about also composers that applied all the systems to music, for example, in the spectral school that we know, the French one.
Yeah.
And we encourage the students also to experiment a little bit with different tunings, but not. It's more like as a composer, how would you explore that? But not. I don't teach how to perform microtonal music, which is a whole different.
No, I meant also about the harmonies and the beauty or the aesthetic part of the microtones.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you agree with me that Zen harmony, it's not a good title for microtonal music.
Well, I don't know. I never.
I mean,
I'm satisfied with microtonal music.
Exactly. Exactly.
There should be a macrotonal music also. I don't know what that would mean, but I don't. It's fine for me as it is.
So, do you think as a conductor now, you need, for example, if I'll tell you there is another concert in the future, would you use different techniques in conducting? Now I'm talking as a conductor. Would you use a different technique than when you use for another contemporary music for 12-tone tempered?
Yeah, it's different. That's true. Especially, already using the keyboard it's something that I don't do when I'm conducting piece with, because the musicians are used to producing these sounds. And I think it was really helpful to really have a feedback, immediate feedback.
And I noticed that you divide also the musicians for 2-3 groups sometimes.
Yeah.
To ask them to play alone and just to have the correct tones, and then to go back and then to bring the first group with the second group.
Yeah, especially because of strings, because they are able to play actually all available notes. They can just slide the finger and all notes are there.
Yeah.
It's more about listening than a physical memory.
Yeah.
So they really have to listen what they're playing and who is playing with whom, so that they can react. And in that case, it's of course useful to isolate the groups and tell them, look, here you are together with him or with her, and so that they can coordinate everything.
Yeah, and if I don't know if you, for example, in my piece, I wrote something with Arabic instruments. Would you support something similar in the future in the education system, for example, musical education system here in Germany, like choosing instruments from different parts from other cultures and to use it in the European culture? Is it a good idea, or you think no, it's very complicated
I think it is, if it's used like in a project like this, where you can see the immediate application of these instruments, and for example in a piece like yours where you can really combine both instruments and see all the potential of the instruments, and if it's not just used as a gimmick or as just some kind of exotic flair
to play Mozart with Arabic instruments.
To play Mozart with exactly. If it's not like this, if it's really to bring both cultures closer and really to open the minds to what's out there, I'm totally for it, and I think this project does it beautifully. It's
great. As a composer now, would you think in the future would you accept an offer, for example, to compose something for a traditional instrument with orchestra or a traditional instrument with European instruments, or you think it's not in your body, in your culture, you would not accept it?
It depends. If the commission was just, okay, you have this instrument and you have the orchestra and you can do whatever you want, then I would say yes. I would probably say yes. Okay. And I've been in that situation where I try to find my own solution. I don't come from an Arabic country, and this kind of tuning system is not natural for me. So as a composer, I would never feel comfortable writing this music.
Yeah.
But to have the instrument, I will have to talk with the performer, see how we can develop a dialogue, and then yes, if that's the commission, I will be really happy. Yeah, to do.
Great. Yeah. So hopefully next year, perhaps we will be in an Arab country and we are doing something together.
Yes, I'll be happy to go there. And,
yeah, thank you very
to
much,
get
Daniel.
to know. Thank you.
You
Thank
did
you,
a
Rami.
wonderful job. I don't know
much.
how much I should thank you, because I know how much was. It was really difficult project.
Yes.
Just microtonal music, traditional instruments, traditional music sometimes. Other times it's just overtones with in different styles.
Yes.
So, and you do it perfectly. So thank you.
Well, not perfect. We were doing our best, and I'm sure that we are.
Sure.
After these projects, we're better than we came in. I mean, it's a beautiful program. Yeah, thank you very much, Rami.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for the
Thank you, Daniel.
opportunity.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you.